Sachinandana Gaur Hari Patita Pavana Gaur Hari Nitai Gauranga Bhaja Gaur Hari
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol Hari 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 Bol Nitai Gauranga Gaur Hari Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Balaman Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for coming again to give us some spiritual enlightenment on this evening. We are very grateful and very privileged to have you with us today. It was a very auspicious day. We have been chanting whole day from 8 until 8 p.m. We're going to be finishing.
That's wonderful.
And those who don't know our special guest today, His Grace Rohinipriya Das Prabhuji. Rohinipriya Das Prabhuji is our, almost in Calgary, is a household name as a Sannyasi Brahmachari's name in between. Like he's like our, like very known to us. I don't have to explain too much about him, but those who are connecting this evening and don't know about Prabhuji much, I'll just briefly tell a little bit about Prabhu. It's not, my knowledge is not enough to explain his quality, his vision for Srila Prabhupada's mission. I'm just going to tell briefly his biography. As you all know that he is a doctor in medicine. He completed his degree from Pune, India, in the early 90s, and he joined in Iskcon temple in 1995, and they moved to Chowpatty, Mumbai, and he served as a director of Iskcon Youth Forum, Iskcon Chowpatty for many years. Then he served as a temple management committee member of Iskcon Chowpatty. He also served as a member of Committee for Spiritual Vision at Iskcon Chowpatty from 1996. He started traveling to Aurangabad, Maharashtra, India, in addition to his service in Mumbai. He fills the lives of people with the joy of Krishna consciousness. By his practical, mesmerizing spiritual discourses, he also consults and guides many people, especially the youth. He currently is serving as a general manager at Iskcon Aurangabad, Maharashtra, India. Under his able guidance, Iskcon Aurangabad is a dynamic and flourishing, offering and tribute to Srila Prabhupada's legacy and glory. He visits North America regularly, especially the USA, Canada, and shares the message of Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. He also travels worldwide for serving the people of all denominations. He has been actively distributing the message of the Bhagavad Gita to thousands of engineers and medical students and other professionals all over India. He is an inspiration to many professionals and youth all over the world. He parents the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam in a very attractive, eloquent, and practical manner. Please welcome His Grace Rohinipriya Das Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
You're welcome. Om Ajnanatirandhasya Jananjanashalakaya Chaksharan Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, thank you very much. I'm so very happy to be amongst all of you once again for this monthly festival that we have, the Harinam Sankirtan Festival. Sometimes I think it is called as a 6-hour festival, but now uh, since the time of the pandemic, it has gone online and it has become a 12-hour festival. So Charitamrita Prabhu, he occasionally um, tells me to be present on these particular occasions and speak on the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So today we are going to speak on the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which has been authored by the great personality, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj. And we are reading from the English translation of this Bengali epic. The English translation from the Bengali and along with along with the purports have been given by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So we are reading from the Adi Leela, chapter 1. Chapter is entitled The Spiritual Masters, text number 56. 56 onwards, let us see in the short time that we have. We'll try and speak a little on each of these texts. Text number 56 is a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Etavadev jigyasam tattva jignasanatmanah anvaya vyatirekabhyam yatsyat sarvatra sarvada. Translation: a person interested in the transcendental knowledge must therefore always directly or indirectly, directly and indirectly, inquire about it to know the all-pervading truth. Srila Prabhupada has given a long purport to this, and I would encourage all of you to go through the purport as we speak, or you could do that later on too. So, Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, we are trying to understand from the Chaitanya Charitamrita the nature of the relationship that a person who is inquisitive about Krishna consciousness, about God consciousness, and the spiritual master who enlightens the sincere inquirer. So that is the context. Kaviraj Goswami himself has accepted the sixth Goswami as his Shiksha Guru, or instructing spiritual masters. And from there onwards, he is explaining the benefit and the great fortune that one has when one who is in the human form has on receiving the association of such a great personality who could be the instructing spiritual master or Shiksha Guru. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is putting a lot of effort to encourage all of us to time and again meditate on this aspect of spiritual practice, which is called as Tattva Jignasa or Tattva Jigyasa. Tattva means inquiry into the absolute truth. Sorry, Tattva means the absolute truth. And Jigyasa means inquiry into the subject matter of the absolute truth. So Jigyasa means inquiry, Tattva means the absolute truth. So in the human form of life, one must be very, very enthusiastic to always make inquiries into the absolute truth. In fact, when we stop making inquiries into the absolute truth, into the nature of the absolute truth, into the various aspects of the absolute truth, then the only option that we have is to try and seek happiness through the worthless process of sense gratification, through the tiring process of sense gratification. Hence, a Kovida or an intelligent person is always very enthusiastic and is always very enthusiastic to inquire into the various aspects of the absolute truth. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna makes it aptly clear that this is the one and only quality of great souls. Macchitta madgata prana bodhayantah parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Macchitta madgata prana. For those personalities that have made the Supreme Lord as their very life, their very soul, whose existence abides in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who are completely immersed in remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These great personalities, they always bodhayantah parasparam, they always find ways and means to encourage one another, to help each other, talk, speak, hear, remember the various existences of the absolute truth. Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead, who exists as the Lord of Vrindavan, who exists as the Lord of the heart of the living entity, who exists as the person who has so many wonderful relationships with his devotees. In so many ways, the Lord exists. These are the various aspects of his existence. So the great personalities, they dive deep into these topics about Krishna. Just a couple of months ago, I was speaking on at another forum, and I was remembering the pastime of Lord Chaitanya visiting his great devotee Advait Acharya at his home, and Advait Acharya, he requests the Lord to show him the universal form. And then Kaviraj Goswami explains that uh, Advait Acharya was so affected, so happy, or so blessed to see the universal form that he started dancing and chanting in Kirtan. And then the universal form also started dancing with Advaita Acharya. So these are the various topics that we discuss in Krishna consciousness, whether it is about the Lord revealing his universal form, or the Lord revealing his four-handed form, or the Lord revealing his Shadbhuja Roop, the six-handed form, the Lord traveling from Dwarka to Mithila, or Lord Krishna as the Lord of Vaikuntha, Lord Krishna as the Lord of Goloka Vrindavan. There are so many topics that great personalities have to discuss about. In fact, the scriptures state that the most powerful expansion, one of the most powerful expansions of Krishna as Ananta Shesha. It is like the lower limit of the Lord's expansion. If there can be an integral function applied to the Lord's expansion, then Shesha means the end, the last. So the lower limit, point A, y is equal to fx integral fx graph, point A would be Ananta Shesh, powerful. And his business, he has thousands of hoods or thousands of heads. He is in the form of a serpent. A serpent has a hood, and Ananta Shesh has thousands of hoods. Hence, one of the explanations of the name Ananta Shesh means the thousand-headed. Although it is called as the thousand-headed, what it basically means is unlimitedly, one who has unlimited heads or unlimited hoods. With each one of these heads or hoods, the Lord Ananta is glorifying Lord Chaitanya, or is glorifying Lord Krishna, and he's been doing it since the beginning of time, since the beginning of creation, and he hasn't been able to describe all the activities that the Lord performs in a single moment. And the Lord has been performing activities since ever. So there is so much to discuss What we read in the scriptures, according to our own traditions, are called as revealed knowledge, or they are called as revealed scriptures. Revealed scriptures are just a drop of the ocean of all that can be written about Lord Krishna, just a drop of the ocean of Krishna, of the topics or the subject matters related to Krishna. So, anyways, so this is the focus of great personalities. Now, the only way one can use these faculties, these abilities, these faculties that one has to interact in this material world, such as the ability to speak, the ability to hear, the ability to remember, the ability to see. In other words, these facilities that we have as the senses can only be used for logical purposes, for logical activities, is when we receive training. When we receive training in utility of the senses, including the mind. So the function of training us is performed by those who are experts in any subject matter. So these experts are called as our teachers in the English language. They are called as Sikshak in the Sanskrit language. When these teachers are able to explain the expansion, the expanse, when they are able to explain coherently, when these such teachers are able to explain coherently the subject matter of Krishna consciousness, because the topic of Krishna consciousness has such gravity in it, we call them as Guru. Srila Prabhupada was once asked by a devotee or by another person that who is a Guru? And Prabhupada says, or what is a Guru? And Prabhupada says, Guru means heavy, heavy with knowledge. Guru means grave. The word Guru just has another word that comes from this verbal root is Gurutvakarsan, or the energy of the earth, Gurutvakarsan Shakti, the earth's pull, the gravitational force. So gravity, grave, the gravitational pull. So the word Guru has been very commonly used, or very that is commonly used in many instances. According to Sanskrit grammar and the Sanskrit dictionary, the word Guru implies gravity, grave, heavy with knowledge, or one who is always immersed in serving Krishna through hearing, chanting, remembering, etc. So, since we need training in order to use our senses, if we have a great person who is a guru training us in the proper use of the senses, or helping us, facilitating us when we use our senses for various activities, the advice or the directions given by this guru become our instructions, and therefore such a guru is referred to as a Siksha Guru or instructing spiritual master. In fact, just as we have so many teachers or Sikshaks who explain the various aspects of material science, similarly, we have unlimited number of gurus who explain to us the science of God consciousness or Krishna consciousness. So it is not uncommon to find someone who has received instructions from multiple people. It is not uncommon to have more than one spiritual master. In fact, it is quite common and it is quite healthy too. Over time, one of these instructing spiritual masters uh, helps us to be connected to a disciplic succession through the process of initiation, and that spiritual master is called as the Siksha Guru, who is now the Diksha Guru. So that Guru, that spiritual master who initiates us into the disciplic succession, and there are various protocols. So that becomes that spiritual master who is our Siksha Guru and also our Diksha Guru now, or the initiating spiritual master. Now, when we have instructions given to us, the idea of instructions is so that it gives you direction. When we speak of direction according to material science, wherever there is direction, wherever there is this arrow pointing, what it basically means is that there has to be some momentum. What it basically means is that there has to be the application of force which causes a change in energy. It means that now there has to be some kinesis, there has to be some movement, there has to be some activity. Instructions which do not bring about activity do not exist. So instructions are directly proportional to activity. If there is zero activity, that means zero instructions. So either we have not received instructions or we are not paying attention to the instructions, which is a dangerous proposal, which is not a very healthy proposal or healthy situation. So instructions are directly proportional to activities. So the more we pay attention to the instructions, the more we will be active in life. The more there will be momentum towards devotional service. The more there will be an acceleration in our lives while we are performing a devotional service. There will be more velocity. I'm just trying to explain it in terms of math and physics. What it means is that one cannot afford to be lazy. Laziness is when activity tends towards zero. So anything tending towards zero, the resultant product would be a big zero. So when action or karma or the functioning of the senses is tending towards zero, that state of functioning, that state function is called as laziness. So laziness is not a quality that can glorify any disciple, that can glorify any student. In fact, laziness is an obstacle. Hence, this verse where it speaks about Vyatireka-bhyam. Vyatireka-bhyam means Vyatir Vatirik and Abhyam. Vatirik means um, Vatirekabhyam, indirectly. And Anvaya means directly. So Anvaya Vatirekabhyam. So Vatirekabhyam means indirect and Anvaya means directly. One has to Jignasyam. Jignasyam means inquire, which means one has to inquire through uh, remembrance, one has to inquire through hearing, one has to perform inquiry through speaking, any of the nine limbs of devotional service, jignasa. So one has to uh, inquire into transcendental knowledge. In the Mahabharata, in order to encourage Yudhishthira, Bhishma tells him a story. This is a story about a camel that had been a Brahmana in a previous life. Now, camels generally, uh, although they are very large animals, you don't find them to be very active. They prefer, because they live in deserts, especially during the daytime, they prefer, or in places that are very dry, they live in such places. They prefer to be in the shade, to conserve their energy, to conserve moisture, or to maintain the hydration of their system, their body. Uh, so a camel would generally be seen sitting and just kind of munching away. Typically, if one is lazy and one is not doing much, then uh, in in India, in many societies in India, um, there is an old proverb that one should not be a camel, which basically means one should be active. So the reason the Brahman basically at that point of time would mean somebody who was very interested in um, practicing the instructions from the scriptures. So very healthy lifestyle. Has become a camel. So there was some laxity, there was some laziness there. So uh, becomes a camel. By dint of the austere practices of the previous life, the camel was an intelligent camel. The camel could remember that uh, life is not meant for sense gratification, but for performing austerities uh, to achieve a higher goal. So the camel did a lot of austerities, and by dint of previous uh, fruitive results, previous karma, and present austerities, Brahmaji became pleased with the camel. So Brahmaji gave his darshan. Lord Brahma gives his darshan to the camel. Uh, what is your desire? Says Lord Brahma. And the camel says, it is so difficult for me to find food. Uh, I need in my search for food. I have to travel. So I would be very happy if you can give me a very long neck, at least 100 yojana long. Hmm. Um, Obviously, this is an instructive story or a moral story. So this is how moral stories are. Bhishma is trying to explain to Yudhishthira Maharaj. So because of one's previous uh, activities, now as a camel, has the facility of having some kind of intelligence which makes him do austerities. At the same time, being in the body of a camel now influences this living entity, the Brahmana reborn, to cash in the 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 coupons that he had received for his austerities, to cash in these coupons for sense gratification. So the camel asked Brahmaji, if you can give me a long neck, I mean I can elongate the neck or reduce its length at my will, and if I could elongate it to 100 yojanas. One yojana is like 100 yojanas is what Hanumanji jumped across. So I'm jumping from the southern tip across the ocean to Sri Lanka, 100 yojanas. One yojan is about 8 miles. So 800 miles. Wow. One yojan is 4 krosas. One krosa is like 2 miles, so 8 miles. Brahmaji says, Tathastu. So now he can now extend his neck as and when needed without moving. So there is so many other things that he could have asked for, but his present body does not allow him to do that. His focus is on how I can be comfortable. Anyways, so he's extended his neck, searching for food in various places, and he finds food in a distant forest. Now his body is in a dry place. His neck is extended to a few uh, like 50, 60, no, like few 100 miles, where there is a storm. So there is a forest there. He has found fresh food, fresh leaves, or whatever there. There is a rainstorm, and the rains are they are hurting him. So he doesn't want to leave that place because he hasn't had its fill. The camel hasn't had its fill. So the camel seeks shelter, trying to save its face and its eyes. The camel hides within a cave. So try and imagine this. The body is hundreds of miles away. There's an elongated neck, and the face is hidden inside a cave. A male and female jackal also seeks shelter in that cave. They are hungry. Jackals are carnivores. So they see this really juicy flesh in front of them, which happens to be the neck of the camel. They jump up, catch hold of the neck, and start feeding on it. The camel feels the pain, and now in order to save its life, the camel retracts its neck. Unfortunately for the camel, jackals are holding on tightly and not letting go of the neck. The jackals eat through the neck, and the camel loses its life. This story was explained by Bhishma Dev to Yudhishthir Maharaj so that he could achieve the purpose of his uh, being a human being a human whose occupational duty was of a king. He wanted to encourage Yudhishthir Maharaj to perform his kingly duties in full Krishna consciousness. So one has to give up laziness. And in order to give up laziness, one has to find ways, anvaya, direct ways, or vyatirekadhyam, indirect ways, to connect or to immerse oneself in Krishna's service. Such a student is called as a serious student by Srila Prabhupada in the purport. Srila Prabhupada says that typically any human being who has not received training would be a student, but a student with unregulated habits. So when the student receives instructions from the Guru, Siksha is instructions. Guru is not a Siksha Guru. So these instructions help the student train one's senses such that one has regulated habits now. Now, when one has regulated habits, then these regulated habits help us use our time diligently. When we are careful of using our time diligently, we become aware of what is needed and what is not needed. So that which is needed, we accept, and that which is unnecessary, we reject. And in this way, we become, or we start exhibiting our qualities of being a good student who is experiencing Sharanagati, two limbs of Sharanagati. So this is how a serious student learns from the Siksha Guru, and hence one must seek the association of such spiritual masters, and one must feel grateful having received instructions from them. And it is going to be a journey. Remember, directly or indirectly, we have to find means to be able to learn the science of Krishna consciousness. And when we say learn, it is not just memorization, it is not just theoretical knowledge. Learning means practical understanding too. So we learn how to play the mridanga, we learn how to worship the deity, we learn how to distribute books, we learn how to cook bhoga offerings for the Lord, we learn how to get up early in the morning, we learn how to sleep early at night, we learn how to understand the scriptures. And when we do all of this with remembering Krishna, with feeling grateful to Krishna, that learning now becomes realization. Generally, people speak of realization as the understanding received at the end of a particular action. And the scriptural understanding of learning is realized knowledge is learning, or realized knowledge is that we have once again learned the act, the art. We have understood the art or learned the art of remembering Krishna always. And that is what it is. Serving Krishna with constant remembrance of Krishna. So, should I stop here or should I go to the next verse? What is the suggestion? We can stop for question and answers.
Yeah, that will be nice here.
Yes, please. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Hare Krishna. So there doesn't seem to be any questions. So any suggestions?
I'm just checking the Facebook, Prabhu. Just give me a second.
Sure. I'm sorry. Could you ask the question once again?
What is the point to live if we are going to die?
That is a very good question. What is the point to live if we are going to die? And could you repeat what you said? I was speaking when you made that statement. Something related to Krishna?
What is the point to live? Living, we are with Krishna. But when we die, we are also with Krishna. So what's the point to live if we're going to die and go back to Krishna too? We have a connection with Krishna now, and when we die, we still have a connection with Krishna.
So what is the point in living? Is that the question, or is it a statement? Because I think it is a statement.
What is the point of living then?
Yes, so I kind of feel that it is a statement because it just, your question made me remember a lecture from Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada says that a devotee never dies. So his students, one of them, they ask, but Prabhupada, we see that everyone dies, including us. Srila Prabhupada says, others die, devotees go back to Krishna. They go back to Godhead. So it is like transitioning from one transport system to another transport system. Sometimes we kind of take a bus to catch a train. It is our journey. It is the journey that we have undertaken. So right now our journey is in this material body. We are remembering Krishna. And when this body leaves us, then we transition into another transport system, the spiritual existence, where our existence itself is our body. So we have a spiritual body. So there is no death in one sense for a devotee. It is just transitioning a transition phase from material existence to the spiritual existence. Is that helpful?
Yes, Raj, that is very helpful. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vedant. Bila Mataji has one question. Bila Mataji, you can ask now.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandvat Pranam. First thing is, I'm so thankful and I'm so happy. We are very happy to see you, but we are missing you a lot in Calgary. So it's not a question, it's a request, I would say. So you talked about the Tattva Jigyasa, which is the inquiring about the absolute truth, and inquiring by hearing, chanting, or whatever with pastimes of the Lord. And you also talked about the Advaitacharya's dancing when Lord showed his universal form. And if it is a possibility and a request to have a lecture on that pastime, that would be great.
Sure. We will maybe do it another time. It's a beautiful pastime.
Yeah.
And if you want to read on it, it is there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Or maybe the
How about we keep you for next month also for this request only?
Yes, sure, Prabhuji. That would be awesome.
That will be 27th of February. If you please accommodate, that will be a very nice thing to know.
Yeah.
Sure. Yes.
Okay then. So
Uh,
so
the reason
thank
I
you.
brought up that point was because generally the universal form is considered to be a very tedious topic. It is considered to be very, very analytical topic. So that is why it somehow popped up into my head. The different aspects of Krishna consciousness are not just when we kind of see the Lord for Mangalarti or we see the pictures of Lord Krishna on our wallpaper. It's not just that. It's not as limited as we sometimes get used to. So if we can open ourselves to so many other ways of um, being able to remember Krishna or connect to Krishna, then living in Krishna consciousness moment to moment seems to be a possibility and a very good possibility.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So there is one last question, and it is kind of a long question. I'll try to read it. So this Mataji is saying that I don't know if I should ask this question here, but recently my husband lost job. I'm unable to go out. I'm unable to visit temple. I'm in a lot of stress. Is there any simple way to handle stress by worshipping Krishna?
Okay, so I'm extremely pained, and really, really, I feel sorry for the present state that you are in, and I can understand that it is difficult. Artha is the basis of dharma, kama, and moksha according to the purushartha that is taught in the Vedic literature. So there is dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These are called the chaturtha purusharthas. Lord Chaitanya and his followers speak of a pancham purushartha. Chaturtha means four. Purusha artha means that which is favorable or which is helpful, which has meaning for a person. Purusha means person, artha means that which gives them benefit. So there are four kinds of such beneficial activities, or let us say zones of existence. Uh, Artha, dharma is religiosity. Dharma basically means living according to uh, the real understanding of who you are. That is what is dharma. So if one understands who we actually are, even as the body, the material body, if we can understand what are the modes in which this body is functioning in terms of what one's inclinations are, what one's desires are, and what are the relationships that one is more comfortable in. These are various aspects of the 64 limbs of knowledge that are taught in Vedic scriptures. It's an exhaustive list um, which helps you understand who the real you is to a large extent. And once we know who we are, then we are able to perform our functions properly. So that is called as dharma. Dharma actually means that. But briefly put, very, very, very in simple words, it is called as religiosity, which I think is a misnomer. There is a lack of a proper word in English, a single word in English for dharma. Prabhupada would say constitutional position, which I think is very good. But these are two words. Then there is artha. Artha means what helps you go from point A to point B, what helps you achieve what you want when you go from point A to point B, or what helps you achieve something that comes to you from point A to point B. So that is called as artha. So typically, it is understood to be finance or money. And artha is essential for understanding one's constitutional position. Artha is essential for being able to use the senses to get some happiness, artha is needed for seeking liberation too. Because as I said, artha is that which helps you get from point A to point B. So artha can also be considered to be as uh, spiritual money or knowledge. Spiritual knowledge, which is also money, which helps you get from point A to point B. Um, in common terms, the common layperson terms, artha is generally seen as finance because it helps you purchase things, it helps you get food for yourself and for others, it helps you have security. That is how the human society is arranged. Human society is, I think, maybe less than 5% or 6% of the various species that exist, the human species. However, it is only in human species that we find so much of emphasis on what we call as currency or paper money or um, what is called as money. And we do not have many other alternate uh, options to this. That is how the society is arranged. Now, when we go to um, other societies like animal society, bird society, we don't find that happening. So here we are in the human form. This is how a society is arranged. And finance, in terms of money, that which helps you buy things, is very, very important. And certain situations like this pandemic can really test your tolerance. And because these are extreme situations that are difficult for every human being, and especially for you. I'm really sorry to hear this is happening with you and your family. Now, in a typical society uh, that has decency as its core value, you see, any society will have good and bad elements. However, it is necessary for the good to prevail over the bad. You know, the good should at least be 51%, and the bad element should be kept to under 50. At the most, they can be equal 50 each. However, the good and the bad uh, the ratio should be in favor of the good. That is how any society would survive. Otherwise, that species would become extinct. So it is a survival mechanism. So, in a good society that has decency at its core, and all the societies, the way humans live on this planet, they definitely have decency at their core, as communities, as countries, as whatever. Uh, those who have more are supposed to share with those who have less in extreme times. Typically, it would be the king that helps you do that. However, since these are extreme times, when we receive any kind of benefit, if we have no means of our own, we should try and see that we keep our needs to the minimum. So, first thing is trying to see if we can de-escalate uh, the the pressure of our that are our needs. Now, this pandemic has been there for almost a year, so obviously it has even tested us to the utmost as to how much we can decrease our needs. So we have to see if we can be a little frugal. Being frugal helps us stretch out our facilities for a couple of days more. And being frugal in extreme times is the quality of people who are using the education that they have received. So you must be doing that, as must so many other people. It helps us understand that we can live with minimal needs too. Secondly, we must realize that what we really need is to exist is some food, water, relationships, and shelter. If we are able to do that uh, uh, with our means to again de-escalate that, bring it down to whatever is practically possible. If we can do that, then we can find uh, we can find more energy to be tolerant within us. The potential is there. So, if we use all of that education that we have received over the years, so many people have given us so many good instructions, so many good advice, so much of good advice. So we should now access all of that, and that all those instructions, all that advice helps us feel hopeful and keeps away hopelessness. So if we can see how to live a little frugally than before, if we can find hope by remembering all the good instructions and advice that we have received over decades and decades that we have existed in this form, and within that, if needed, find something to share, because when you share, when you have, even if you share, let's say, you give somebody your hand, that gives you hope, that gives you that makes you feel alive. So as an adult, it is very much needed for us to live now for our future generations and for those who are dependent on us, the elderly people. And we will find a way through this. Definitely, we'll find a way through this. Our society has decency at its core. Our governments, they will make arrangements. We have to find out ways and means how we can use all of that to sustain um, our lifestyle or to sustain our existence with hope. Is that helpful?
I have to wait for Mataji to respond, but I wish that she find all the answers in whatever you have said, and all her misery come to an end as soon as possible. I know this is a very difficult time for everyone, and these cases when comes to us, then it become more extreme. So I hope her issues are resolved.
Yes, we all hope. Yes.
For a response, because she just texted me. So once she'll respond me, I will pass that message to you, Prabhu.
Thank you so very much.
Ashutosh Prabhu, you want to add anything?
No, this is fine. Thank you so much for giving very enlivening discourse and nice answers for both questions. We are very much touched, and hopefully people get some, kind of relaxed mood with this COVID period. And there is a hope always, and the virus, the vaccine is biggest hope for now. Hopefully things become normal pretty soon, and we go back to physically. We will welcome Rohinipriya Prabhu very soon, as soon the travel restrictions taken away. We definitely miss you, Prabhu. But so kindly you giving us at least this is your second association, and that next month will be third one. We really, it's called in Bengal, it's called Dudher Shad Doi Mithano. We don't have real milk, but we have yogurt. So we just try to have it as much as we can. Thank you very much again, and all the devotees listening from Prabhu. And now we have the closing kirtan by Dr. Purimal Nath Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada.
Thank
Ki
you. Thank
jai.
you. See you next month, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Stay safe,
Dhanyavad.
stay healthy, chant Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.